Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kagekaze's Domain. This is patch 16. We're continuing the Demon Hunter. I lied to you last time about part 2. This is going to be part 4. Alright. A little bit of news before we move into the game is that the site reveal.diablo3.com has been updated yet again with the next unlock, which is an excerpt from the Book of Cain. So if you're interested in the Book of Cain and you haven't picked it up already, I recommend going there and giving it a quick read. Who knows, maybe you'll like it, maybe you want to buy the book. The Book of Cain is pretty interesting. I haven't looked into it myself, but from what I can tell, it's pretty much an account of everything that's happened to this point from the eyes of Deckard Cain. So it makes it kind of an interesting read, especially when you have it and you read the book and you can definitely be hearing Cain's voice in the back of your head as you're reading it. So I think that's pretty neat. So beyond that, we're moving on here. So what I want to do is I kind of want to start. I'm going to go over primary stats. You may have seen that I split up the last video slightly where I took part of the video out and made a blacksmithing primer out of it. I know it's the exact same thing because I just cut it out, but I wanted to make it easy to find for anyone that may have had questions regarding blacksmithing. The only thing I didn't get to go over in it was the fact that you can find patterns in the world in order to teach the blacksmith new weapons and armor, simply because that just doesn't exist in the beta right now. Whether or not it'll exist this early in the game in the retail is anyone's guess, as the online site has not been updated. Blizzard has fully admitted that the website, the official website for Diablo 3, is behind and will not be updated until around the release time. Alright, so what we're going to look at right now is we're going to look at primary attributes. I got lucky enough to find some armor here with plus to dexterity, which enhances one of these primaries, so it'll allow me to show how these work. In case you're wondering, you don't want to ignore anything that's not your primary attribute. And by primary attributes, I'm talking about if you mouse over each one of these here for strength, you'll see that it says the primary attribute for barbarians. And what that means is that the damage for a barbarian is increased by 1% for every point of strength that they have. For dexterity, it's the primary attribute for demon hunters and monks, which is why I'm glad I have those boots. That increases my damage by 5% off of base. So as you can see here, I have a 36% extra damage that I do just because of my dexterity. Intelligence is the primary attribute for witch doctors and wizards. So your primary attributes directly affect your damage, but I didn't go over it just yet, but you may have seen it when I moused over them. Each one of these primary attributes has a secondary effect. For strength, your armor is increased by 1 point per strength. And I'll go over that a bit because what you want to know is that armor is direct damage reduction to you. But it's not a, for example, armor 15 does not mean I'm going to reduce the damage by 15. It's a rating, and I'll go over what ratings are, and when I play a bit here, we'll see how the ratings are affected by level. Dexterity will increase your chance to dodge. Your chance to dodge is increased by 0.1% per every point of dexterity. They have the way they have the systems in place is you should never be able to hit a perfect 100% dodge chance, just as armor should never give you a 100% damage reduction. Intelligence increases your resistances. Here it increases your resistance by 0.1 per point of intelligence. Again, resistance is like armor. It's a rating. It's not a pure damage reduction. Vitality is one of those stats that all classes can benefit from. It increases your maximum life, allow you to take more damage. Each point of vitality increases life by 10. So for 26, I imagine that just means I have 260 extra hit points. So as you can see here, I have a maximum of 328. So vitality is important. When you get vitality on gear, all classes can use it because that directly helps you survive. So let's go ahead and look at these ratings, and I'm going to open this detailed screen because there's a lot of interesting information here. If you guys have not really looked at this, or if it hasn't been covered on other videos, you can get a lot out of your character by looking at this and finding out what's going on. Very detailed, lots of information here. So let's go ahead and start with armor because it's still over here on the right. I have an armor of 136. This armor is based off of not only my strength, but the armor I have on gear. For example, 14 here, 16, 19, 7, etc. Every piece of armor is added to that. My overall damage reduction is 25.37%, which is nice. Now, the reason why this is great for barbarians, strength is not only their damage, but because barbarians are always there in the middle of melee, they're going to be getting hit a lot. So barbarians are great for getting into the fight. They're going to deal a lot of damage, and they're going to shrug off a bit more damage because of their primary attribute. Monks and demon hunters focus on dexterity, so therefore their primary playstyles are usually about mobility. Whereas the wizards will usually sit back, have some skills that will help them avoid enemies, and wizards also get intelligence, which reduces the elemental damage they take. So while they're staying away from the fight, if they get hit by a magical missile or something like that, they will take reduced damage. That being said, armor is a physical damage reduction. Magical damage and missile weapons, depending upon what kind of missile it is, may not be affected by it. Because this is a rating, you can't say, I have 136 armor. You can't do simple math and say, okay, you divide this reduction percentage by the armor number. That's not really how it works. What it works is based on your level. If you've ever played World of Warcraft or games similar to it, and you've seen ratings in those games, you kind of know how this system works. You have that 136 rating, and what that says is the damage reduction I take is the 25.37 based on monsters of my level. Monsters higher than me will do more damage, monsters lower than me will do less. The rating simply gives you an idea of what your reduction will be for something you're fighting of equal strength. And of course here you can see your pure damage. This is your DPS, damage per second. And as you can see here, it tells you that this is calculated based on your weapons, attributes, attack speeds, critical hit chances, passives, and whether you're dual wielding an attacking speed increase. So let's go ahead and look over here. As you can see, it shows you what your damage increased by your primary skill, the 36. If you have a skill that increases your damage, such as a passive or maybe a rune that gives you a little more damage after you use it, it'll show up here. This detail screen is updated in real time. You can actually have it open and see how it works. Attacks per second is also shown. One thing to be wary of with attacks per second on this screen is that as you swing, if you're dual wielding, it only shows the attacks per second of the weapon that's about to swing. So if you're dual wielding, if the first weapon has a 1.1 and the second weapon has a 1.6, if you're going to swing the first weapon, it'll show 1.1. After you swing that, this will update to the 1.6. The speed is not average for whatever reason, but your overall attack speed is average between the two, and you are given a 15% attack speed increase for dual wielding. You also can see your critical hit chance. As you can see here, you're giving a default 5% critical hit chance. This is affected by gear directly, not increased by primary attributes. And the wonderful thing about hitting with a critical strike is that you do 50% extra damage. The reason why it's listed here is because there are passives, skills, abilities, and weapons or items that will increase how much damage you do on a critical hit. So you can actually make a build based on critting and doing high amounts of crit damage. Down here you can see your defensive tab, where you can also see if I were wearing a shield, you can see how much damage would be blocked, or how much damage would be reduced if I blocked, what my chance to block would be. And as you can see here, each one has a detailed tip. Like this one will tell you not only my block percent, but it even shows the block reduction there in the tooltip. There's my dodge chance. Now, one thing about dodge chance is that it seems to go, again, like a 0.1% increase as you go along. So what I'd like to probably do is take a look and see if that gets changed, because if your dodge is always increased in a linear fashion like that, then there's a dangerous chance of it getting too high. So we'll want to take a look at that. I've already got the 136 armor rating at 25. Let me take a look at the 36 dex and 3.6. I'm sure that doesn't change, but we'll take a look at it. Alright, now again, resistance is much like armor. You can see here that I have a resistance of 2 across the board because of my intelligence. Now you might think, okay, I went over here, it shows 1.5 and it shows 2 here. The number here is rounded. It's rounding up because I hit 0.5. However, the percentage should still be based on the 1.5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down as well. The 1.5 gives me a 3.61% reduction. The reason why it's important to keep in mind that these are ratings is that when you get to the final difficulty mode of Inferno, monsters will be at a minimum 1 level higher than you. So the stats you see here may not be ultimately indicative of what you are going to see with those monsters. Those monsters will always be stronger than you, and the highest monster level currently reported is 64. From 61 to 64 in Inferno mode. So as you can see here, we have resistances for physical. So wizards can get physical damage reduction by using intelligence instead of using armor. We get physical, cold, fire, lightning, poison, and arcane and holy have been combined into a single damage reduction. Now also you can reduce crowd control effects on you. So for example, if you get slowed or frozen, you can get gear that will help you, or passives that will help you get out of that a lot quicker. And as you can see, it even breaks down missile and melee damage reduction. So if a monster swings at you, or if you get shot by a missile, you can see how much damage that would be reduced. Also, we have Thorns here, which is the damage done if an enemy attacks you. And it's only done to melee. So if you're making a Thorns build, keep that in mind. Ranged classes like Demon Hunters, Wizards, and Witch Doctors may want to avoid the Thorns build unless you're going for that. If you're going for a melee ranged character, some like Wizards have been talking about getting a melee range setup. There is a way you could do a melee range Demon Hunter, but if you're going to play it straight and you're going to stay at range, Thorns may not be the thing for you, simply because missiles and magic will not trigger it. Further on, you can see you also have your life, which it tells you your maximum life, your total bonus from additional increases, your regeneration per second, which is based on gear. Right now I get 1 life per second, and I believe that's right here because of my belt, +1. You can also see your life steal, the percentage of damage. Basically, when you do damage, the percentage of that damage is returned to you as life. This is usually only on weapons. Some other armor pieces may have it. You can also get life per kill and just per hit. So I have a 1% regen, so I have 1 life per second, not 1%, 1 life, just 1 hit point per second, and I can steal 2 life every time I just hit a monster. Don't even have to kill it. And again, all based on gear. You can actually get health globe bonuses and an increased radius to pick up health globes and gold. Further on, of course, you have your resources, where you can see your resource generation and maximum resource levels. These are usually affected by class-specific gear. Class-specific gear can include anything from weapons, such as barbarians being able to wield mighty weapons, wizards wielding wands, and demon hunters wielding one-handed crossbows. And they also include other items such as chest armor for demon hunters, certain helmets for, say, witch doctors and monks. There's a lot of them out there. Different slots will have different types of unique armor for you, and those unique pieces that only are used on your class are going to be what gives you things that are related to your resources. Further down is the fun stuff. Your bonus experience for kills. There's a bonus experience percentage. I think this here gains from killing monsters. This is probably put in there for shrines and for the Nephilim Valor system, which will be added at level 60. Assuming that Nephilim Valor gives you a bonus percentage. As you can see here, well, Nephilim Valor, I apologize, no, because that's experience, not Magic Find. I was thinking of Magic Find. That's probably just based on shrines then. There may be other items that will increase that in the future. Here you can see Magic Find. This is what's going to be increased by Nephilim Valor, as well as Gold Find. Gold and Magical Find are both considered in high regard this time around, whereas in Diablo 2, Gold Find was not usually as important, simply because gold quickly phased out and wasn't as useful. Now you're going to need gold for repair costs, which Blizzard has said is probably quite high. People seem to be underestimating that, so we'll have to see how that is, see if Blizzard is true to their word on that. And of course, movement speed increase. As I mentioned in another video, movement speed increase maximum is 25%. So that's how your primary and secondary stats work. And why, if you pick up a piece of strength armor or a piece of intelligence armor and that's not your class, don't just overlook it. Don't just think, oh, this is strength, I don't need it. Well, you have to think about it. If that's strength, that's additional armor, that's additional protection. If it's intelligence, that's additional protection against magical damage. So a demon hunter may want some intelligence gear just to avoid the extra magical damage that gets flung around. It really depends on what you find randomly, but just because you see intelligence doesn't mean you should just say, no, I don't want it. You'll want to compare it to what you already have. So that's pretty much it for the primary attributes. Much like I did with the blacksmith here, I will probably go ahead and split that off for anyone that's interested to see exactly how the stats break down. Alright, now I did take some questions here. Let's see what else we have. One thing is the asterisk over Hadrig's head here. Someone did ask about that, and I have seen it asked in other forums. This is pretty much an indicator to let you know that the NPC has something to talk to you about that you haven't heard yet. So you can go to the talk menu and pick an item, and he'll talk to you. And as you can see, it went away, even though there was one thing I haven't talked to him about yet. Oh, there it goes. That lets you know that there's something new. So even if I talk to him about everything, eventually it'll pop back up if he has something else he needs to talk to me about. Alright, so good news is when I was playing earlier, I found myself a nice quiver. Anything else? No. Alright, so quivers have been changed from previous versions in the beta. Quivers used to give plus to damage. They took that away, which I think is a good thing because I think it was making them too strong. Quivers now increase your attack speed by 10% all the time. They may get stronger in higher difficulty levels, I don't know, but as of right now it's always 10%. The other additional bonus is that it increases hatred regeneration by 0.42 on this one. Other things can proc. I've seen quivers with dexterity, which increase your raw damage, which is great. So quivers are another one of those class-specific items. Only demon hunters can use them. So this is wonderful because this is going to increase my attack speed. In fact, you can see here I go from a 13 DPS to a 14.3, which is great, and the hatred regeneration is even better because that'll allow me to get more resources. If you're curious, you can use a quiver. As you've noticed here, I've got a two-handed crossbow. It will work with that. It will also work with two-handed bows. And it will work with one-handed crossbows. One-handed crossbows have the unique distinction of being able to be used with any kind of offhand, such as shields. So you don't have to use a quiver with a one-handed crossbow, but it gives you the benefit. So two-handed weapons can be enhanced by using quivers, which is the one thing that the demon hunter has that other classes don't have. When other classes use a two-handed weapon, they typically only can use that weapon and nothing else. Let me look over here, see if I get a rare to spawn. Nope, nothing there. Open sesame. Alright. I really want my rapid fire back. Hold on. Mainly for breaking stuff. Okay. Thought I was going to get trapped in the doorway by a bunch of different monsters there. I have had that happen. It's not fun. These Tomb Guardians can always spawn things near you. That can be troublesome for ranged characters. Game does not want to be speeding up here. Maybe it'll pick up in a moment. Sorry if it's a little choppy. I love that. Arrow just bouncing off left and right. So I just shot through that skeleton in order to hit that wall there. Fun times indeed. We've got a large group here. This would be a spot, honestly, where... Ooh, gotta move. I would really like to have maybe caltrips right now. So I can't slow him down, so let me just turn invisible for a couple seconds. Oh, he's still coming. Oh, he's Molten. I have not seen Molten before. And he blows up after death. That would have been nice to know. So apparently you kill a molten monster and then they sit there for a moment and then blow up spectacularly. So don't get over-eager to loot. So let's see if these will ignore me if I hit invisible. So if I do that... Yeah, they seem to forget I'm there. But the big guy was still kind of heading in my direction. Oh dear. Moving past. See, this is why I'm glad I switched to rapid fire at this point, because there's so many of these things. Impale would be horribly inefficient. Okay, I've got an active skill slots category. I've got chain gain for entangling shot. I'm also running for my life. I got Volt. That is an excellent ability. I like Volt. Knock back. Yeah, this buff to this buff to smokescreen is really nice because I'm able to hit it a lot more often now. Before it just go, 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 go. Bad day, bad day, bad day. No, 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 no. Back off. See, what really would have been helpful there was if I would have killed these skeletal guardians. They were generating all those skeletons. Of course, I got focused on the bigger, better monsters and just completely didn't think to kill them. And I ended up running away a lot. See, I would have liked caltrips, but then again, because smokescreen's buff really worked out for me in that situation. Being able to use it twice instead of just once, and the fact that the discipline cost is low. Here's the thing, not only is it like half the discipline cost of before, but I'm also regaining discipline when it's not in use. So I just get more chances to use it. I was able to use it there like 3 or 4 times in a row just because I could move around a bit before proccing it again. Alright, so I have 2 new slots here. I've got hunting with Vault, 8 discipline, tumbles acrobatically for 35 yards. The wonderful thing about Vault is it allows you to go through monsters. They block your path normally, but with Vault you can just get right past them without having to worry. Now, I could go back to caltrips or I could go to smokescreen, but what I'm going to do now is because I have enough skills, I'll go to the primary here real quick first, but I'm going to show you, for those who don't know, because I did actually see this question as well, is we're going to go over what elective mode is and how to use it, and why you might want to use it. So for now, we're going to get entangling shot. We have a rune of chain gang, which allows me to hit up to 4 targets now. So this means the primary target and 3 others will be hit. And since it does 75% weapon damage per hit, that is basically double the damage that Chain Gang can do, as long as you've got 4 monsters. If you've got less than 4 monsters, then it's still doing more damage to 3, but it's only doing the same to 2 and to 1. So that's something to keep in mind, and when you're thinking about the skill to use, this is really great for groups of 4 or more. Not so great for individual monsters. As you can see there, it takes me longer to kill him compared to Hungering Arrow, because Hungering Arrow hits a lot harder. Now what I'm going to do real quick is go through elective mode here. If you go into options and go here under gameplay, I turned this on in the first video. You'll see it's elective mode. This allows you to customize your skills. So what that means is under each one of these you're given certain skills that you can select. Secondary has Impale and Rapid Fire, Defensive has Caltrops and Smokescreen, and Hunting has Vault. Let's say I didn't want to use Vault. What if I wanted to use Smokescreen but combine it with maybe Caltrops? So let's just put Caltrops on. I want that back, but I also like to use Smokescreen still. Maybe I don't want to use Vault. Well, with elective mode on, I could go here into Hunting, and I can use one of these arrows on the side to switch to a different category and go to Defensive. You can see here that the skill that I already have selected is checked off to let me know that it's already in use. If I try to select this skill, it will move that skill. So if I choose Caltrops and hit accept, notice it went from the 1 to 2. All right, another thing you can do if you want to move skills back and forth, you can simply just click and drag, as long as you have elective mode on. You can't do this if you don't turn elective mode on. So you can just pick up a skill. If I want this in a different slot, just move it over. And you can even take skills that don't belong in that slot. For example, Caltrops, or if I wanted Rapid Fire on 2, I could move that. So elective mode is great for not only using multiple skills from a category. For example, I could have both Impale and Rapid Fire if I want, or in this case, I could have both Caltrops and Smokescreen. As you can see, there we go. Elective mode is great for that, but it's also great for moving things around. Say I don't want my primary attack on my left mouse button. I'll switch it to my right mouse button. Keep in mind there are certain things that cannot be done. For example, left mouse button cannot be slotted to use skills like Caltrops because that goes to your feet. If you were to have the left mouse button bound to Caltrops, you could not pretty much move. So there we go, I've got Caltrops. And I've got Shadow Power. Or, not Shadow. Smokescreen! I've done that a lot before. I thought I was over that, but I'm not. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I just kind of wanted to show that off. I am going to probably... I like Caltrops, I really do. And I do like combining Caltrops with Vault, so we're going to go ahead and use that. So you can see here I can just hit one monster, it'll jump across, do multiple damage. Now the way that Chain Gang works is when you hit a monster, the chain will jump to the nearest monster and then from that monster to the nearest one to it. If you've ever played D2, you want to consider it like chain lightning. It will hit one monster, go to the next, like that, from point A to B to C. If you have 3 monsters standing next to each other, and you try to hit the central monster, the chain will not bounce and go to both monsters on either side. It will go to one side or the other. So if you're using a skill like Chain Gang, hey, look at that, a new bow. I can replace that. Oh, holy damage. Pretty nice. I'm going to lose the experience, but that's fine. I'll hold on to the experience for moving on to level 13. What do I got here? Attack speed increase. So there we go. Same armor. I lose the Thorns damage and lose the extra gold. You know, I'm going to take it for extra damage. I like that. Okay. So I don't really need anything else here. Let's just get rid of them. 20 armor over life regen, I'll take that. Okay, now that we're at this point, real fast, we're going to go over our ratings again. My armor rating did jump up to 152. Let me bring it back down to 139. And the 139 is actually higher than what it was. I was at 136 before. And the damage reduction I had was at 25.37. That means I've lost damage reduction even though I have a higher armor rating. The reason for this, again, if you've played WoW, you know that you need higher and higher armor ratings to have the same reduction on monsters of the same level. Just because I could hit a monster, you know, again using WoW terms, if I had a hit rating of a certain amount and that allowed me to perfectly hit a monster of my level, well, all of a sudden I leveled that, and I have the same hit rating. Well, now it's comparing my level to monsters of equal level. That means I need a higher rating to hit monsters that are at a higher level now. So just because you see a reduction here doesn't mean it's always going to be right, because if you fight a monster that's higher level than you, and again this goes back to Inferno mode, this rating will lie to you. This 23.6, if I were to go into Act 2 right now, I would not get anywhere near that 23.6 reduction, because those monsters would tear me apart. So I wanted to make sure I go over that. There he blows up in some holy damage. Really cool looking. Masterwork shortbow. Let's take a quick look at that. No. That sells for 5. I'll keep that. Wait. How much does that sell? I should have looked at it on the ground. 4. I'll keep it. That's 5. Keep it. You see here, I hit that. Now let me try and see if I can show you what I mean by it not hitting 2 monsters in a row. Like here, if I can hit him, he may not hit both. Yeah, see. There. So you notice how I hit him and it hit the monster behind him? It did not hit the monster in front of him because it has to bounce from one creature to the next.
Maintain your incantations. You will Your magic is weakening. I am free. Now, back to my mission. Who are you? You will... Tell me, what brought you to this infernal place? I must kill the skeleton king. Then our aims align.
Ooh. A champion. I've never had a champion here before. Lord of the Destroyer. Uh-oh. Witness my acrobatic prowess. You jerk. Alright, now keep in mind, just because I can volt through enemies, what you may see here is that I can volt through them, but I can still take damage if they hit me. This goes into another thing that I want to talk about as well. Monster melee ranges. You may see in some videos where monsters that have a melee swing seem to hit you even if you're out of range of them. And you might equate this to lag, which to some point is true. But there is a certain reason why they do that. Because if I were to just run through the game and try and run past everything, they don't want you to be able to do that, because that's what happened in Diablo 2. You could run past monsters so quickly that you could make it so that they never hit you and that you just rush to the boss. They've gone a long way to try and prevent things like that from happening in this game.
The cultists dragged me past this glowing pit.
No thank you on that one.
I will know soon.
So they intentionally made it so that monsters can hit you even as you're passing them. And I imagine this kind of works the same for players. So for example, when PvP comes out, you want to be mindful of that you won't be able to just perma-kite melee classes. They will have a range that if they swing at you, if they're able to swing at you, they will probably hit you. Another reason is, of course, because of things like your dodge rating. You can naturally dodge abilities even if they were supposed to hit you.
I usually prefer to be alone, but I will make an exception for a warrior like yourself.
Alright, let me see. I think I've covered pretty much everything that was asked, except for co-op. Okay, so I did feel the question on this one is, what's the advantages to using co-op rather than solo play? And the truth is, I wouldn't really say there's an advantage over using co-op over solo or vice versa. It used to be in D3 that monster damage, experience, and all that would go up. So, for example, if you grouped with 8 people in Diablo 3, which you can only group with 4 in this one, you could get more experience by, basically joining a game. You wouldn't even have to stick with the party. People could split up, farm their own areas, get massive experience. In this, the experience doesn't go up. The monster health will go up, so you're not going to just steamroll over everything. But the monster health goes up, I believe, in a fashion that the more people you have, the more damage you'll do compared to the more health they have. They don't want to make it impossible, after all. So what happens when you're doing co-op, though, is that items that you see on the ground belong only to you. Gold can only be picked up by you. Items can only be picked up by you. But the other players that you're with have the same thing. They will see their own loot. So you don't ever have to worry about stealing an item from someone. Like in Diablo 2, items on the ground can be picked up by everyone. You don't have that problem anymore. So what's the advantage there? Well, the advantage isn't exactly there for if you're playing in a pickup group unless they talk to you. But, you know what, if you prefer co-op play compared to solo play, do it. You're really not going to suffer from it either. There's no penalty for doing either one. But if you play with a group that you know, a group of people that you know, grouping up is actually more effective because every monster you kill will drop loot for each and every one of you. So killing a monster once is almost like killing a monster 4 times. So you may find a magic item that your friend can use, and they may find a magic item that you can use, and as long as you're trading back and forth, you are basically increasing your effective loot find. That is the benefit for being in co-op play compared to single-player play. Someone also brought up in the blacksmithing video that, what if you've got a friend that you want to give everything to? Give them all the items and maybe a little bit of gold to help them with their blacksmith, and they can level up their blacksmith from the ground up, and then trade all the items to you. You can do that. You actually can, and there's really no penalty to doing it. None that I could find. Items that the blacksmith make do not bind to you. There's pretty much no more item binding. So, sure, if you want to do it that way, if you have friends you can trust, do it. Give them your essences, give them your items, and let them craft for you, and then they can trade back to you. It works. Alright, so I've gone on about that. Let's kill John Dar.
Templar John Dar, how could you succumb to this coven? The coven is my brotherhood now. The powers we serve will soon rule this world.
I was not using my rapid fire efficiently there. I wasted a lot of hatred. Okay. I'm not really needing to use my Volt or Caltrops because they're all focusing on the Templar.
Not enough hatred. Please forgive me. My vision was clouded by the Coven's evil magic. Betrayal can never be forgiven. Thank you for your aid. I will go with you on your way.
Alright, so upon killing John Dar, you get the first of 3 followers, and here you get to choose whether or not you want to keep the Templar. Templar is a fierce melee warrior. He can use a shield and any one-handed melee weapons. He starts with a shield and a spear. Now, in other videos I've gone on without him, but because I'm kind of doing these as primers and I kind of want to give you guys some information, I'm going to keep him. I think I've already talked a bit long this time, so I will probably go over the Templar and the next one. Let me go over some basics here, just real quick so you can see him. He's pretty much just like your character. When you activate him, you can click on his little icon in the upper left-hand corner. Also, the F key serves as a shortcut.
I do not understand how evil works.
You can... When you have a follower of any kind, this is something I haven't gone over, when you have a follower or an NPC that's following you around, you can always right-click on their portrait to get a menu. And in this case, I have my follower. I can dismiss him if I want, or I can just talk to him. You can talk to him and get cues. Now again, this happens for any NPC. When I had Leah with me, I could just right-click on Leah's portrait and talk to her. I just didn't do it. Alright, now if you dismiss your Templar, like so, he goes away. But if you go back to town, there he is, like a good little doggy, waiting for you. You can talk to him. You can work on his inventory even though he's not in my party. And so you can do that for other followers as well. You get a total of 3 different followers. I can click hire, which that's kind of a misnomer because you're not really hiring him. It does not cost you gold. It's not like Diablo 2. Followers don't cost you. You click hire, and basically he just follows you around again. So that's how NPCs and followers work in general for following you around. Again, I'll go over him in more detail next time. As you can see here, he's got his own skill tree. The first level is unlocked at 5, I believe. As you can see, he's already 8, so you should always be able to pick one at the beginning. Next skill is at 10, 15, and 20. Templars and basically the followers in general, unlike you don't have an elective mode for the Templar. So even though I've got these 2 skills like heal and intervene, I can't just move one of these down to the next tier if I want it. I have to pick one or the other for this skill tier. And I'll go over those. I'll just go over here now since I've only got one. Basically, I can choose between heal, which he will heal himself or me for 95 life, and that'll go up as he levels. And it has a 30-second cooldown. Typically, he'll wait till you're about 50% before he starts healing. This is very effective for melee characters or anyone that's expected to take a lot of damage. Because if you're out there in the thick of it, he can just heal you over and over again. It'll save you, and you can rely on that as well as your health potions or health globes, and it should really see you through until you start taking massive damage. Intervene allows him to taunt enemies that are attacking you for 3 seconds, and he will only do it when you're below 50% health, and you can only do it once a minute. But that is very useful for melee characters. May not want that because it'll take their attention off you and then you can't hit them. It really depends. You can do it if you want. It'll relieve some pressure off you if you need to get away quickly. I see this more useful for ranged characters such as the Demon Hunter, and for that reason is why I will usually pick it. As you can see here, it'll ask you, are you sure you want to pick it? You hit OK. The other one becomes unavailable. And what you can do if you want that back, you can right-click on him and retrain him. It used to cost gold. It no longer does. It is free. Also, you used to only be able to do it in town. You can now do it anywhere. Just click on retrain and pick another skill. At level 18, you will be able to get a class-specific item for the Templar. At this point, of course, we can't get that high, so we don't really know what they are. There's usually books, but we don't know what kind of benefits they give because the online site has not been updated. Okay, so you can give him a primary weapon. Again, remember he can only use one-handed weapons, a shield. He can wear neck pieces and 2 rings. So everyone's going to be a little bit different. And since I've already gone over all that, just go into the details. So much for going over him next time, right? It happens. Okay, same thing as you. Has primary attributes such as strength, dexterity, intelligence, vitality. Now here's the thing. Primary attributes for followers are multiplied by 2.5. So they get 2.5 times the strength of primary attributes. The reason for this is that followers actually get a very small amount of damage buff from a weapon. So if you give him, if I like gave him 100 weapon damage, 100 DPS weapon, he would not do 100 DPS. He intentionally does less damage. Simply because they don't want him to be as strong as you. He's there to supplement you. So you want to give him stronger weapons, but don't expect him to do the same damage you do. He won't. So they decided to make it so that primary attributes help them much more. So in this case, he'll get a lot more damage and armor from this, but he still won't do as much as you. As you can see here, it even shows you that strength is the Templar's primary attribute, so each one will have its own. Since you've got 3 followers, I imagine each one will be dex and intelligence. Intelligence probably for the enchantress, dexterity for the scoundrel. So here you see he gets dodge, intelligence gives him resistance, and then of course vitality just like you. You can look at his life, armor, and again damage. As you can see, he's only doing 1.4 DPS, even though he's got a 7.2 weapon. So it's a certain percentage. I haven't done the math. I won't go into it just now because I'm trying not to spend up too much time here, but that's yeah, like I said, that's a very small percentage compared to what he could do. And everything, this details screen is just like yours. You can break down what he gets from all items. Damage increases, attacks per second, critical hit, critical damage, blocks, and resistances. The interesting thing here is that Gold Find and Magic Find on a follower. This is what's different. Gold Find and Magic Find on a follower also enhances your own Gold and Magic Find. So anything he kills should have automatically a certain amount of Gold and Magic Find. It's not going to be, I don't believe it matches exactly. I don't think I have anything with, okay, let's say, no, that's boots. Hold on. I need a weapon or an offhand, and I don't have anything he can use. Okay, that's a shame. But as far as I remember, he would get a little bit of the item, and then here's what happens. 20% of the Gold and Magic Find that is on him also goes to you. So if you're not going to go out in a group for your Gold and Magic Find, put it on a follower. Hell, if you don't even care about your follower, just take him anyway and put Gold and Magic Find on his weapon, offhand, rings, and neck. Give him as much Magic Find as you can think of. You're only going to get 20% of it. That's not a lot, but it is a slight bonus. And that's to kind of simulate the averaged out Gold and Magic Find that they added in eventually. Basically, your Gold and Magic Find is averaged across the entire group. Whatever your Gold and Magic Find is, it's added to the rest of the group, and then it's divided among how many people you have, and that's what everybody gets. I kind of like that system. I have reasons for it. I can go over that in detail if anyone really wants. I've talked about it before, but I can talk about it again. So that's it. I'll end it here because I'm going into level 4, and I know I'm spending a lot more time talking, which is making the segments draw longer and longer. So I'm trying to keep them in the smaller chunks. Like last time, as you saw, I cut it in half because it went over an hour. Okay, so this hopefully is still part 4. Might be a liar again. Thankfully I got a lot of material here because of you guys. The questions that you have, comments, and all that, please continue to leave them here in the comments section below or at theshadowpost@gmail.com. I'll be happy to try and respond if I can. At the very least, I do read them. If you like the video, please thumb it up. It helps quite a bit. And that should do it. I'll see you guys in the next one.